What's up to all my faces out there? It's Faces back with the video. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm happy that the Cowboys season is over. Excuse my voice, my nose, whatever. I've been sick all week. But I was supposed to make a video earlier, but I got caught up into doing things after the Cowboys game, and then I watched that Steelers and Ravens game. That was a pretty good game, but the Steelers get lucky. And so they defeated the Ravens. Ravens missed a game-winning field goal, and so Steelers won the division and making the playoffs. You know how that goes. I get used to seeing stuff like that. But yeah. So 49ers, Eagles, Packers, Steelers, all those teams that I just hate made the playoffs. But guys, I am so numb to the Dallas Cowboys. It's just like Matt Eberflus should be gone now. Now. And then I'm hearing that they're going to wait on it 10 to 12 days. Like, for what? Like, do it now. How long do you need to think about it? You had 18 weeks to think about this while this was going on. Like, why? Like, really though, Black Monday. I love Black Monday. You see who gets fired, but and I don't hate Dak Prescott. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna have another season of looking at Dak Prescott. I know ultimately it's Jerry Jones, but I know ultimately it was the defense. But yeah, man, when Dak Prescott came to the Dallas Cowboys as a rookie in 2016, I was a correctional officer. My life was way different then. Way different. My kids are growing up now, 10 years later on this. They were little kids. Now they're growing up to teenagers, almost into adults now. So it's just... I saw Drake May. That was a quarterback we could have landed on. I like Jackson Dart a lot. And I thought Jackson Dart was going to be drafted by the Saints. But Jackson Dart went to the Giants, of course. And then you had Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State, because I saw Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State play against Texas Tech. And yeah, and by the way, Texas Tech didn't do squat on offense, in the second round of the playoffs in the quarterfinals, against Oregon. So Tech is out, and Cowboys season is done. So my teams are done. I got to wait all the way till September again. I hate that feeling, yo. I hate that feeling. But, guys, I mean, I'd like to, just... I'd like to see if Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney can, like, stay for another year, Go ahead and just let, trade O.C. Adigazua or something, I'm happy with Kenny Clark. I'm happy with Quinnen Williams, We got to work on a linebacker. I mean, like what linebackers are available in free agency in the offseason, right? Going into the offseason. I mean, I have no idea. And I can be a little biased, but I like, to draft Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker from Texas Tech. He was the face of the defense. That's the reason why we went that far, was because of our defense. That's a pretty good linebacker, y'all. I don't know. I know, college football players don't pan out in the NFL all the time. But, I'll be biased. I like to check it out. I really like him. Big fan of Rodriguez. But we need a linebacker. We're 12th overall pick in the NFL. If we would have won that game against the Giants, it's like, would have been like pick 17 or 18. So I'm happy with number 12. And you got Cowboys fans on YouTube, talking about trading more of the first-round picks, for players in the NFL that are getting older. I just, man, I just don't know anymore, y'all. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of freaking listening to Cowboys fans on YouTube. And I'm tired of these little Cowboy group cults, Cowboy fan group cults on YouTube as well. I'm going to ride solo. I'm Cowboys face. Ain't none of this 20%, 80%, man. I'm 0.0001%. And, I don't want Max Crosby. Max Crosby's been having knee issues. He had surgery on it. He's getting older. I just, that would be nice. I wanted him early in the season, but thinking about it more, our luck would be he would have injury issues, start missing games and just he can never be fully healthy, playing for the Cowboys. And so I'm just sticking with the draft. I mean, what is there to go after? Who? I mean, we can't just sit there and be like, I'll take Myles Garrett. I'll take this play. Like these stars are glued to their football teams. Yeah, we reached out and got Quinnen Williams. But I say stick with the drafts. You got number 12, and then we have the Packers' first-round draft pick. And hopefully they stay at 20. They lose the wild card game. And, guys, we got so much work, though, on defense, man. I'd like to have Jim Leonard as our defensive coordinator. We gotta look for some linebackers in the draft. We gotta look for secondary. Strong safety, free safety, cornerbacks. And I'd like to look for a quarterback, but we done traded, second round for fourth round or what? What was it, fourth round? Yeah, fourth round, sorry. For Joe Milton. And you got Dak for another year. Dak will probably he's going to have one more year, and that's it. Guys, man, oh, man, I am really like it. I don't hate Dak Prescott, man. It's just, man, it is time to move on. Call me racist all you want, because I'm not. I would just like to have a white quarterback. I would love to find another John Elway. I'd love to find another Peyton Manning. Dan Marino, Jim Kelly. Of course, another Troy Aikman. Roger Staubach. Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Steve Young. I'd take another Steve Young. I'll take an Eli Manning. Yeah, there's that Arch Manning, in with the Longhorns, he'd probably play one more year and then go into the NFL in 2027. That is something I would do if we traded one of our first-round picks, one of the Packers' first-round 2027 first-round pick, and our second round for 2026 pick for Quinnen Williams to the Jets. But if we had two first-round picks in 2027, I would have definitely traded those to go down to land on Arch Manning. I mean, it's Manning. It's the Mannings. It runs in the family. We need a change, y'all. Like, I'm talking like a major change. And quarterback has a lot to do with it. Ultimately, yes, the defense. But it's time to see something new. I'm really starting to think some Cowboys fans like me are beginning to be really numb to this football team, when you're seeing the same results year in and year out? Seriously. It doesn't hurt to look for some more offensive linemen, you know. And I'd love to have Javonte Williams, you know, to continue. And Blue, got his first touchdown on the last game of the season, you know. And you got Phil Maffa, you know, that got his first touchdown on the last game of the season. You know, didn't see them all year long. Oh, but here they are. I don't know. And those were not the running backs that I wanted to get when those other running backs last year in the draft that were still available. I mean, those, in my opinion, those were stupid picks. But we have them, you know, and I like Phil Maffa's aggressiveness, you know, and his strength. And it looks like as he's going down, he's going to get another yard or two. So I like to see that. Blue, yeah, he's speedy, but, man, he looks dangerous. Like, you could tell. It's like all I can think about with Blue is he can fumble the ball any second. But I'd like to have Javonte Williams, you know, for another year. But, guys, I've stretched out almost 12 minutes, you know, and I have to say, I'm not just saying this because, you know, we're living in current times. It's easy to say this, but I have to say, I think this was the worst Dallas Cowboys season I've ever witnessed. I know we've had 3 straight 8-8 seasons, you know, 5-11 seasons in the early 2000s, you know, and the triplets, you know, were starting to decay away, you know, and all that stuff. And I know we had Romo injury seasons, you know, 2015 and stuff like that, you know, but guys, I mean, I know that was a big collapse in a 2010 season, you know, Wade Phillips getting fired and all that stuff, but man, there was just something about this season that was just dark. That was the worst defense I've ever saw in my life as a Cowboys fan. And Marshawn Nealon killed himself. Seriously, I don't mean to say it like that, but he was in a terrible situation, you know, and he ended his own life. And then you had one of the YouTubers and psalmists passing away. I mean, and then you're sitting there staring at Dak, you know, pad up his stats. Guys, I think this was the worst season as a Dallas Cowboys fan in my lifetime. I didn't live, you know, in the 60s and 70s. You know, I was born in the 80s, and I got to see the Super Bowls in the 90s. But all those seasons, you know, in my lifetime that were bad, I don't think it was as bad as this. And the worst defense you ever seen. And Jerry and Steven want to talk about they're going to hold off 10 to 12 days on Matt Eberflus? Like, guys, I am so tired. I love my Dallas Cowboys. Y'all know my room. Freaking love them. I love my Cowboys. They have my TV to watch right there. I love them. I do. This ain't it. This ain't it at all. I want a white quarterback that wants to manage the football game real well. I want a damn good running game with a great offensive line. And I want that defense to smash everybody's mouth. Just like that. I'll take all that over a pass-happy offense with a stupid, ugly, terrible defense. Cowboys don't know their identity. What I just said used to be their identity. Quarterback, great management. Run heavy, balanced toward heavy. Run game. Good offensive line. And that defense. Smash mouth defense. And a lot of times depend on the defense. Defense wins championships. I don't know. We just don't have that. We've lost our identity a long time ago. We don't know how to stick. That's culture, okay? That is culture. That's the Dallas Cowboys culture. Simply as that. That's what it's been in the 70s, the 90s, and we can't continue that. Don't worry about up-to-date this and these days that and stuff like that. Stick with your identity. 2025 season for the Dallas Cowboys is officially over. I'll be watching the playoffs. And, guys, I love y'all. You know? And we got a long off season. I'll probably be, back sometime in the off season. I'll try to come back during the draft. I don't ever show up during the draft, but I thought about, showing up during the draft. But dang, I hate this part. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad our season is over. But I hate this part. This is the long stretch of no football. Time flies by with, when you get older too. Or football seasons are just like that. All right, guys. Dang, I put on over 16 minutes. And I really don't know what the heck I said altogether. But, all right, I love you guys. All glory to Jesus Christ.